Meta says you're getting a 10x rise, but your bank account isn't growing. Hey, my name's Adrian, and I have managed around $15 million in ad spend and have around 5 years of paid media experience. Okay, so I'm going to break this video into two parts. The first part's going to be why ROAS can be deceptive and what ROAS is. And then the second part is going to be on attribution and why attribution is different to contribution. So what is ROAS, or return on ad spend? It's basically a measurement of efficiency. For every dollar I spend, what do I get in return? If I spend $1 and I get $10 back, I have a 10x ROAS. ROAS is an indication of efficiency. It's not an indication of revenue growth. Let me give you an example. Okay, let's just say you have spent $1,000 on ads and you've made $10,000 back. Fantastic. You have a 10x ROAS and that's quite strong. Now let's fast forward to another month, and let's just say you decide to go and increase your ad spend quite significantly to $20,000. So you've spent $20,000 this month now, and you've made $100,000 back. So you have a 5x return on ad spend. Both of those two things show completely different pictures. And if you just look at return on ad spend at face value, you're going to think, well, option 1 is better. But option 2 has just generated you $80K in revenue, and option 1 has only generated you $9,000 in revenue. So the question becomes, well, at what rate can I continue to increase my ad spend and take a drop in efficiency where it's still quite profitable, right? Because, as I said, ROAS isn't an indication of growth. It's not. So you will need to spend more money, and when you spend more money and you see a return on ad spend drop, that's okay. It's just showing that you're less efficient, and that's always going to happen as you spend more money. Ask yourself, is the revenue growth worth that? Okay, now attribution. Let me give you an example now of the difference between attribution and contribution. So you're running Google Ads and you're running Meta Ads. Your Meta Ads account shows you a 10x return on ad spend and 50 conversions or 50 sales. On the other hand, Google also shows you 50 sales and it's displaying a 12x return on ad spend. So you're thinking, wow, this is really, really good, right? Like the platforms that I'm running, killing it. Okay, then you go and you have a look at your Shopify backend or your bank account or whatever the real source of truth is, and you only see 40 sales, and you're thinking, wait, how does that make sense? Shouldn't I have 100 sales? Meta has generated 50 and Google has generated 50, so isn't that 100? And that's where things start to get quite muddy. So what's happening is someone has clicked through a Google shopping ad, okay, and they land on your website, they shop around, and they think, okay, this is potentially a vendor that I may go with. Then the next day they're on Facebook, and your great multi-channel strategy is then remarketing that particular user, right? With dynamic product listing ads. So they're seeing that exact same product that they saw when they're on your website. They don't click through though, and they continue to have a look at their feed. 2 days later, they then decide, you know what, I like those guys and I'm going to go and purchase that product. So now they navigate to your website and they type it into Google, and you're running a brand search campaign. You're just bidding on your brand name. And then they click on your brand search campaign and they convert. So there's 3 different touch points here, right? Someone clicked on a shopping ad, they then saw you on Facebook, and then they navigated directly to you through a brand search ad. Now, these platforms, they don't really care which channel was actually the channel or the campaign that drove that first interaction, i.e. the shopping ad. They don't care. Meta doesn't care. Meta just sees whatever, this person converted and we showed an ad in their buying journey, and therefore we're going to claim credit. The same with the Google brand search campaign. All right, they navigated to us and they clicked through our brand search campaign. We're going to assign credit here. So this is the issue. So if you look at both of these platforms, it looks like you have 2 conversions, but in reality, you only have 1 conversion. Now, which one of those campaigns actually contributed to that sale, right? And that's what I mean. Attribution and contribution are completely different. So I would claim the Google Shopping ad was definitely the campaign that was responsible for driving the first interaction with your business. So that had a very high contribution to generating that particular sale. On the other hand, Meta's remarketing ad probably also had a strong contribution to generating that sale as well. It played a role in nurturing the user and remarketing, right? But did brand search? I'd argue no, right? They're gonna come to your brand either way. They're actively searching up your brand on Google. So if you didn't have a brand search ad, and they really wanted to purchase from you no matter what, then they would have found you through an organic listing, right? So that's where you would need to then dive deeper and figure out, well, okay, attribution aside, what campaigns are actually having the highest contribution to my overall business success? And that's where, optimizations come into play, and really aligning your campaigns and strategy to, generate more revenue and generate, growth. And coming back to the actual topic of this video, well, why do I have a 10x ROAS on all these platforms, and why isn't my bank account growing? So both of these 2 topics in the video that I just discussed, right, answers the question. So first of all, the first one is, well, ROAS, right? Return on ad spend. What is return on ad spend? It's just an indication of efficiency, not growth, right? So, if you're spending money and you're getting a 10x ROAS and you're only optimizing towards a return on ad spend metric, and you start to spend more money and that return on ad spend drops, and then you decide to pull back and spend less to maintain that ROAS, you're never going to grow in revenue. Your bank account's never going to go up. And the second part is the attribution, right? Things can look very, very deceptive, and these platforms may be saying something that's really good. You're getting a 10x ROAS, but then when you start to do the maths, you discover you're only getting like a 5x ROAS. And that's where things, start to get quite complicated, and obviously you need to really look in some detail on what's happening, right? Which is a separate video. But that's the reason. If you guys want me to make another video on, well, how do you measure this stuff, right? How do you approach this, right? How do you put a measurement framework to actually show incremental growth? And how do you put a strategy that actually aligns with your business outcomes? I hope you guys enjoyed that video. And as always, if you enjoyed it, please leave me a like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one.